Okay. Yerushalmi says, "Ein molichin as hasula shovach." One can't take a ladder. One can't take a ladder from. Better pass the napkins. Can't pass a ladder from dovecot to dovecot. You know, they used to have dovecots, places where they grew pigeons or doves up on stilts, and one cannot take the ladder from one to another. It's too much tircha. Avo, well, actually, it's not the reason. Too much tircha. Let's say it's the reason. Avo, mateu michal chalon. If it's leaning one way, you can lean it the other way. You can't move it physically. Beisil matir, Beisil's matir is actually the first thing in the Masech. The Beisil is more mekel. Yerushalmi lo yitol elin ke'einine mibod yom. Yerushalmi says you can't take doves from the dovecot unless you wiggle the dovecot a little bit from before you have to begin, which is like designating the doves in it. Just stand there and say, these are the ones I want to take. You don't have to actually do a physical deed to it. Yudah bar Chia nafik lebora. Yudah bar Rabbi Chia, the son of Rabbi Chia the Great, went out to the hinterlands. Shalom, so they asked him, Sulam shal aliyah ma. What's Allah? It says according to Beis Hillel, you can move the ladder from a dovecot to a dovecot. What about the ladder of a second floor residence? It's a much heavier ladder. Can you move it or not? Amalon said, Shari, it's mutter. Kada'asa gabi avur, when he came back to his father, Amalei ma ma'isa boliyodech. He said, what happened to you? What news? Amalei said, Itati lohed sulam shaliyah. I permitted them to move the ladder of an aliyah, meaning of a second floor residence. Va'akim tanei kumei. So Rabbi Chia wanted to show that his son had made a mistake. He took a Tana. And what did the Tana say? The Tana, he told him over the Brisa. What can you move a ladder of a dovecot? Also, but a ladder of a second floor is also. What's the difference between the ladder of a dovecot and the ladder of a second floor? This interesting language. I'm going to learn it the way the Pnei Moshe learns it. It says a sulam shel shovach, a ladder which is made for a dovecot. Im asu malachto me'esmo. If you do work on a weekday with it, kachushi meim, it weakens the ladder. In other words, it's such a light and rickety ladder, you can't use it for weekday work. So therefore, it doesn't look like uvda dechol to move the ladder on Shai Yontif, because anyway on a weekday you don't move the ladder and use it for work. However, sulam shaliyah yahu asos biulachtam me'asmo. Sulam shaliyah, he can do work on a weekday with it, and therefore to move it around on Yontif looks like uvda dechol, looks like you're doing, preparing to work with it, and therefore it's forbidden. Okay. Rabbi Yossi bar Bura, someone said, Sulam shel shovach, yochol, it's possible, now here's a typo, right? It should be Eno yochol, I guess. I circled the wrong word. Sulam shel shovach, Eno yochol lamod. Why did I do that? Yeah, it shouldn't be yochol. It should be eno yochol lamod, right? So eno yochol lamod. You can't find it for a long time. Same idea, because it's too rickety, right? The last is malachto. Sulam shel shaliyah. What it's yochol. This is what you just take out. Sulam shaliyah yochol lamod olav last malachto. Therefore, it looks like you're doing malach, and that's why you're not allowed to move it. Sulam shel shavach shuela bolaliyah. What about what's the halacha? What's the halacha of sulam shel shavach? A dovecot ladder, shuela aliyah, which you use to get to the second floor. Can you move it on yontif? Sulam shaliyah shuola bo l'shavach. What's the halacha of the vice versa of a sulam shaliyah, a ladder for second floor, which is sturdier, but he only used it for a dovecot? The Yerushalmi never comes to a conclusion about that. Or what's the halacha of mix and match ladders? You have to move them a little bit. Thoughts in the Beis Shammai. I got a problem. This is contrary to Beis Shammai. We learned over there. Rebbe said, this person can stand on the muktzah. Remember, he can look at his drying figs and drying grapes. Erev Shabbos b'shmitz. Erev Shabbos during Shemitah here. Only during Shemitah here, the Korban says. So during Shemitah he doesn't have to meiser it. Oh yeah, because Shemitah is no meisers. So all he has to do is designate. So he can stand opposite his muktzah and v'omer. He says, from here I'm going to eat tomorrow. So we see they only need verbal designation. You don't need actual physical designation. You don't have to wiggle it. Rebbe Lezer lav shamutiyu. Rebbe Lezer from Beis Shammai. Here we see a contradiction. Rebbe Lezer here, who's from Beis Shammai, says you don't have to actually do anything physical to it. All you have to do is just designate it verbally. So what? So how come Beis Shammai in our mission says you have to actually do something physical to the dovecot? So it says the Gemara. Should be Rabbi Lezer lav shamuti who. So it says Mar Chaymer hu b'davar sheish bo ruach chaim. Don't misunderstand. By shovach, since this stuff is alive, right? The doves are alive. You have to be more machmir. You have to actually shake them a little bit. By a case of the stuff in the muktzah, so it ain't going anywhere. So there's no chashash it might fly away or anything like that. So therefore, you have to use verbal designation. Here, you have to actually develop a relationship, so to speak, with your bird. In other words, designated physically in order to overcome the fact that it can flee at a moment's notice. Okay, Beisil Omrim, now Beisil Omrim, Omeid v'Omer Zevizayino, so they only need verbal declaration. Again, Mechalfa Shitasi the Rabbanan. The contradiction Rabbanan, Tiyatam, we learned over there. V'chachor mi'achom say, Acha Yerushalmi v'yomar mikan v'adkan. You got to make a mark. When you want to take something on Yom Tov, you have to designate it from before, and you have to make a mark, right? You have to actually make a note from before. So I would say I'm going to take from here until here. V'hacha, you know what I mean? And here, all you see that they require is just that you do verbal designations in the contradiction. Oh, and furthermore, inun islahon. We just got through saying that you have to be more machmir in something which is alive. So you certainly should need to have not just verbal designation, but physical or material choosing, right? So it says Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yasi, Rabbi Boone said, "Who b'davar sheyesh." I went back line, sorry. I'm Rabbi Barabun, Levi. That's Levi is called usually in the Bavli is called just plain Levi, but in the Yerushalmi is usually called Rabbi Levi. But it just says Levi plain. I guess you would have to put the Rabbi. Levi makish al shavacha. He would not wiggle the entire dove cup, he would knock on it. And that's what basically requires you to. You have to knock for him, and he says, let me use the dovecot tomorrow. Okay. Wow, we can finish the 2 blot tonight pretty quickly. What? A short blot. I didn't realize the 1 blot will go that fast, but I'm happy this time knocks me out. I didn't say shiur this afternoon. It's usually I say shiur every afternoon, Marcus, but no caffeine, no shiur. Okay, Zimin Shchor Matzah Levanim. What? No, just tired. Zimin Shchor Matzah Levanim. He designated, here it gets a little bit more complicated. He designated black doves and he found white doves. Okay, so obviously not the doves he designated, right? Zimen Shnaim, you designate 2, Motor Shloshi found 3. Asurim. They're forbidden, because they're not the ones you designated, right? Shlosha Motor Shnaim, what if you designate 3 and found 2? Mutari, they're permitted, right? Because I say the 2 you found there are the ones which are there. Besora can, what if you designate ones within the Dovkat, a Motor Lifnei can found in front of the front Dovkat? Asurim. They're forbidden. Because we say they're not the same ones. There are no other ones in the vicinity, and the Gemara is going to discuss what that means. They are permitted under those circumstances. Masnisa de Rebbe, our mission is going like Rebbe. Our mission says if you designate 3 and you found 2, it's okay, you can take those 2, that's like Rebbe. How so? The Tani will learn, Masai Mumatzamana. You designated $200 and for Meiser Sheni, and locked it up somewhere, or put it into a room somewhere. And then you only found $100 left over when you came into the room next time. Rebbe says, you have only $100 left, that $100 is Meiser Sheni. And you start with $200 Meiser Sheni, somehow absentmindedly use the first Meiser Sheni, this is the second Meiser Sheni. Okay? In other words, you used half of it, but you left half of it. Okay? That's Rebbe's Shita. So to here, if you found the designated 3 and you left and you found 2, so you see these 2 are part of the 3, right? The Chacham Mosid. However, the Chacham say that whatever you find is Chulin. Don't say I left 200 and found 100. It's just 100 missing. No, the 100 is not the 200 which you did at the beginning with. So therefore, it must be another 100. So therefore, it's not Meiser Sheni money at all. It's Chulin money because it must have been switched. Okay. Time you learned over there, I'm leaving. No, so he says to his kid, Meiser Sheni bezavisu. I have go to that room. I have Meiser Sheni money in a certain corner. Umatza bezavisu, and the kid goes to the room and finds another corner in the house. Harelu Chulin. Rabbanan consistently say they're Chulin because if it was the same money, would have found the same corner. It must be that it's a different money. Meiser Sheni, Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha B'Shem Rabbi Yasser said the Rebbe that Rebbe is the one who would argue here. Rebbe would argue, and he would say that the Tani Masai Matzah Mana Munach Mana Mutza. If you contract for £200, 100. So they say that you only have 100, and the expenses with the other 100. Divrei. One second, I lost my train of thought. The Rebbe, the time assignment to mana munach mana muto. One second. I better start from here again, because they were left over there. Omer Libno, somebody says to his kid, Meiser Sheni Yesh B'Zavizu. Meiser Sheni in this corner, if Matz B'Zavizu Chayes finds another corner, Harei L'Chulin, this had to be Chulin, because obviously not the same corner. Rabbi Yaakov Rach V'Shem Rebbe said, V'Shem Rabbi Yasser said to Rebbe, no, it's even like Rebbe. The Tani B'Lir Masai V'Matzah Mana, if you have 200 and you find only 100 left, then I say, the one which is there was always there, and that's the Meiser Sheni money. The one which is taken is taken away. They say it's all Chulin. Why is it all Chulin? Because, he would have taken the whole thing. Right? Now, then he could renege and says, even Rabbanan would agree in this case. Why? Shania b'gozolim shedar kol lifrach. Gozolim are different. Chicks are different, or doves are different, because they're going to fly away. So therefore, everybody's going to agree. Actually, the chumrah, I think, I call correctly, is going to be machmir because the gozols would fly away. So therefore, these might be fresh gozols altogether. So let's bring in this case. pretty well till now, right? I can't read it. It's very hard to read Rashi. I have to say that. Oh, okay. This ratio is not... the ratios I say that the kid found in the other corner, Hare Elu Chulin, that's Chulin, that it cannot be going like Rebbe. For sure not, because going to Rebbe say whatever's there, Mistama was is somehow related to what was there to begin with. Rather, the ratio, the Sefer, the Mishnah is brought down by the Korban Eidah here. He says, why did you bring down that Sefer? Yeah. No, not there. Not also the Sefer, the Masif in the Korban, it says, Masayim u'matzah mana, right? Hakol Meiser. That Sefer is going like Rebbe. But it says, not this case with the kid who found the different corner, because according to Rebbe, that should also be Meiser. Talking about a kid, about the case which we were talking about previously. You left 200, found 100. And according to Rebbe, it's Meiser. Because I assume that the Manamunach Manamutal, they took 100, left you 100, right? Now, there's the Gemara. They didn't want to say, even everybody agrees. You know why? Shanya bikozolim shadarkan lifroach. The Rabbanan only said that which is left behind is not meiser, is not that which originally was. Is only by birds, because it could have flown away and these could be others. And the reason why is because you left 3 and found 2, right? As opposed to a case of money. There, even Rabbanan would agree that if it was stolen, if the money was stolen, the guy would have stolen all $200. So it must be the guy forgot that he had Meister Shady money sitting there, and he was part of it, and therefore he said he'd get the $200. So again, the bottom line is that by birds, or Rabbanan Machman, they say they're not necessarily the same birds, because birds fly away and birds come back, right? But by money, when I left 200 and found 100, I say the 100 which is left is a remnant of whatever the first money is, because if it was stolen and switched, then they would have done the whole thing. They wouldn't have just taken 100, left 100. Okay? Says the Gemara, I got a problem with this. V'tol Tani Rav Tachlifa Bar Shol said, I got a problem. Who he said, Rav Tachlifa Bar Shol said, Hu adover gozolim, hu adover bepeitzim. That even by eggs, I say, even though eggs are immobile, I say these are different eggs. So it says Gemara, Heve. The Rebbe must be Takeh, that the Mishnah which says that that which it says that we only look at as part of what was originally there is like Rebbe, because like Rabbanan, I should at least by eggs say that they're different eggs, right? Okay, I'm sorry, at least by eggs. If Rabbanan don't argue across the board, if they agree by money, they should also agree by eggs, because by eggs also nothing flies away. So if they argue by eggs, it must be they argue by money. They must say that no matter what, we always have to assume that this is something else than you originally started out with. Okay? Says the Gemara further, Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef said another difference. Tamon Aviv Hiniach Ubno Motza. Now this is vague. What exactly this means? I think what it means like this. Over there, the truth is to be going like everybody. We could draw a distinction between our case and the case over there. There, the father left and the kid found, right? So therefore, since the father left and the kid found, we assume, well, the father forgot that he left Meiser Sheni money there and he changed it around. So therefore, we assume it's all Meiser Sheni money. However, over here, even Rebbe might concede. I don't look at them as being the same birds. Why is that? But here, he doesn't recognize them, right? So if he doesn't recognize them, even Rebbe should agree that they're not valid, right? Bar Kohen Omar, Rabbi Yasa, B'Shem Rabbi Yacha, Hore Rabbi Bar Zavta, or Rabbi Bar Zavta Paskin, B'Meiser Sheni Kodo the Rebbe. By Meiser Sheni we say like Rebbe, in other words, that whatever is left is part and parcel, a smaller amount, but a part and parcel of the original package deal, whatever the status of that was. Rabbi Yudan said, Hadod at Amar, B'Shehayu Sham Shnei Kinim. Now this is very difficult. That which I'm going to learn like the Gra, even though nobody else learns like the Gra, only the Gra. Okay, the Gra was the Gra. So the Gra says that which we had an issue, whether it is our case like Rabbanon or like Rebbe, right? They're actually discussing that. That's only if you have two kinim, if you have two groups of birds. So what is it if I found, Rebbe said if I find three and left three and I found two. So I assume it's from the group of birds which I designated. Rabbanon said maybe it came from the other group of birds, right? Because another group of birds are nearby, right? Sorry. If there's only one group there, lo b'dah, that's obviously good because then it's only coming from that group. Says the Gemara Vatzina, then we learn actually this is I'm gonna learn this again like a proof. But then we learn Elohein Harelum Mutar. Our Mishnah says that. Our Mishnah says if there's only those birds there, they're mutars. So it's obvious. Now it says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi Yisrael. What did I take out here? Yeah, this is the manuscript, the lighted manuscript, and the Shina Scrolls take out these words. I'm Rabbi Yisrael. B'she'ein, the Gemara says B'she'ein sham. Well, you can put them in; they're not so germane. But the bottom line is B'she'ein sham ela goizel echa bilvad. You know what? Our Mishnah might not be makel. There's only one group. Maybe he's only makel is one bird. Because if you find three, if you left three and find two, so okay, you could say, well, it's from the group. But then again, you could say that maybe the ones I left flew away. This is another group, right? So he says it's only mutter ela b'goizel echa bilvad, only if there's one chick. Now, one dove there. Now, why if there's one dove is it okay? So obviously, it's good. The question only arises if I left three and found two. I left two and found one. It's where he left one. The Ksav Yad Leiden takes out the next word. Did I skip anything? Okay, I don't think so either. So it's only mutter where you have one. Now the thing is with a little bit difficulty is that the main shram Elohein b'Haim Harelum Mutorim. It sounds like Haim is a plural, right? So I think I can't prove this to you, but I have a hunch that Hain. We know that the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos. Suppose it says Hain Yiras Hashem Levada Chachma. And the Gemara there says that Hain in Greek means one. Hainu. Now, bear in mind, see, it said Hain in the Mishnah, but the Gemara changes it to Hain, right? So I was thinking maybe that's what the Gemara is saying, that when it says Hain, Hain Shamela Hain Arelu Mutar, and the Gemara is going back to the Mishnah saying the reason why it's Mutar is only if you have one, right? The problem is it says Mutarim, which sounds like a plural. I don't know. But that's what it sounds like in the Mishnah. The Gemara is saying. Gemara is saying that b'shein shamel goizel harei l'mutarim is b'shein shamel goizel chabilvat. So there's one bird, because then of course the numbers don't change, and that's permissible. All right. Shmuel says the Gemara. Shmuel Amar. Shmuel says Hamel. Now this has nothing to do with our Gemara. It has to do with the next Mishnah. Hamlachim es atrisim. Somebody puts back, the security gates on a store on Shabbos. So they actually have to take them off and put them back. They didn't have roll-up gates in the old days. It comes as a shock to somebody who grew up in the Lower East Side, right? But they didn't have they didn't have roll-down gates. You know, you really notice that they're much more in New York than you do in Chicago. But, yeah. Yeah. So they didn't have roll-up gates, but they had gates. And sometimes, no, they'd actually take them off. They physically remove them from the door and put them back on. So to put them back on, he says, Shmuel says, if you put back on the gate, on the Yontiv security gate, chayiv mishum boina. You're actually chayiv because of boina, because you're constructing. The kasha, I have a kasha. Davar she'eno shilu aso b'Shabbos chayiv chatas. So of that magnitude, but you didn't have Shabbos, you be chayiv chatas, right? Because it's actually a malacha, right? Yet nevertheless, Beisil Matirim Afla Achzir, Beisil allows you to put them back, not just to take them off. It says on the Yontiv, the next Mishnah we're going to say allowed to take it off, and this really is all going in the next Mishnah. Allowed to take them off, covered Yontiv to get out stuff from the store. But how can you put them back? On Shabbos you be chayav chatas for it. On Yontiv it's at least alive. How can you permit it? So Rabbi China b'Shem Rabbi Yechon said, Hitiru soifa mibnei tchilaso. It's interesting how he said you're allowed to put them back because you're allowed to take them off. It's kind of like Kisui Adam. Remember he said yesterday you can be matir Kisui Adam because once you start the Shechita you do the Kisui Adam as well. So it's the same thing. The reason She'im Oimer At Lo Shlo Yachs, you tell him not to take them off, Afu in a Posech, he's not going to open his store on Yontif. So I don't know if you're Son Yontif. What do you have to open a Son Yontif for, right? No, Afu Mimayit B'Simchas Yontif. The reason why we need the store open is because Simchas Yontif, and they need to get the store on Yontif, right? So therefore we need it open. So what he's saying is interesting. He's saying, we let you put it back, even though it could be it's really Nisa D'Oraisa, because it's Ochel Nefesh. Simchas Yontif. It's after the fact. Yes, but you wouldn't do it before the fact. You wouldn't open your store unless you could make sure to secure it again and close it. So therefore it's all part of the mitzvah of Ochel Nefesh, right? Rabbi Yaakov gives a different answer. He says you make a shinu when you put it back. You don't do it the full way. Machzir, you can put it back. Uvilvachlo yachzir kol tzarkashin, you put it back the full and complete way. Rabbi Yisrael, kishein shampes. Now what you allowed you to take the security gate, put the security gate back on. That's only kishein shampesach Elohu. Doesn't say Elohu there, right? Just says kishein sham. Pesach, when there's only one, when there's no other opening. Avliation Pesach is the other opening without security gate. Mishtam Mishterach Pesach, you have to go through the other opening. Okay? Boy, I better stall because we're almost finished. This is unheard of. B'shamarim ein notlim es ha'alila kativ v'lo basar. An ali is kind of like the pestle, when the mortar and pestle. It's a thick wooden thing. And normally you don't use it for any other purpose. It's like mukta machmas chesron kis, something which is very special for what it's done. So normally you wouldn't use it to cut meat as a cutting board, right? So Beisharmi ain't only misali katzah basar, but still material still say so. It says it's okay. For ochel nefesh rematir, even the mukta of moving around something which is normally not moved on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Beisharmi. you're not allowed to put a piece of hide out in order to be stepped on, in order to work it on Yom Tif. Below Yagbi Henu, the truth is you shouldn't even carry it, because the muktzah, once you've shaved the animal, which is mutter, you shouldn't carry the hide, which is muktzah. Only can't issue a bus unless it's got a bus here. It says like gazayis of meat on them. But still not there until it still says mutter. B'shamei omer ein misalkin. That's such reason here. So we're just learning now how to remove the gates from your store beyond. But still not there. But it still says you're allowed to even put them back. It says the Gemara, it sounds like the only reason you're allowed to move this pestle is in order to cut meat on it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be allowed to move it. That's Rabbi Chaim B'Shem said the name of Rav. Rabbi Nechemia would say now to move a keli on Shabbos unless you have a need for it. He's super machmir. He says you can't pick up fork off the table unless you need it. So Chachamim don't go that far, but they do consider the Rabbi Nechemia. They consider him b'zayra, u'b'mezura, u'b'buchna. One of these things, b'zayra do otarbe. B'zayra is part and parcel of the apparatus which you press olives with. U'mezura is do chaver peisay, which you beat like grain or something like that with. U'buchna do kasas peisay, which you crush things with. So in those three things, they're moida that you don't move them unless there's a tzorach. Why is that? Because since they're so heavy and precious and they're designated for what they do, so they have the muktzah muktzah which you don't move except for very, very important things. And here, also, you wouldn't move it at all unless you needed actually to cut your meat on it. Okay? It says more further. Or he can put the level high on the ground for people to walk on. Shabbos, everybody agrees, Shaloi got the garden. You can't take the hair off the hide on Shabbos, because that's mamish about working the hide, right? Ma'anan kayomi. What are we talking about? When we say you're allowed to carry it only if it has flesh attached. If the flesh is connected, actually still, it's like parts of the body. So of course you're allowed to carry the hide. Gufo. In Parish, if it's separate already, in other words, the hide and the skin, the meat are separate. Hadai, the Amar Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha, Chinana, this is not what Rabbi Yaakov Chinana said, Chinana Kartachio. Maybe it's a bald one, I don't know. B'Shem Rabbi Yosef, the name Rabbi Yosef, if you have a wallet full of money, you put it in a piece of bread and without the lenim, right? You can carry it. So here too, it's the same idea. In other words, you put a piece of flesh on top of the hide, even though it's not connected anymore. You can carry the hide. The same like the piece of bread over there, which you put on top of the wallet. So is that the same? It sounds like we're doing the same thing over here. And this must be similar to that urn. It's an urn for hot water. Naflas of Rabbi Yirmiyah b'Shubsa, which fell in Rabbi Yirmiyah Shabsa on Shabbos. Heshmun olai allowed. They put on a piece of bread. Doesn't say what, but they put something on it, meaning a piece of bread. Verimine, and they picked it up. So we see that it must be that you put a piece of bread on something, then you can pick it up and say it with our Mishnah. That the reason why not with our Mishnah, with our Mishnah, with the hide. That the reason why you can pick it up is because you just that doesn't need the flesh attached to the hide. You even just put a piece of flesh on it. Says more, no. Lo shalach Rabbi Yosef, not lo is Rabbi Yosef that you need that the piece of bread is essential. Ella begin Rabbi Yirmiyah, and that I said that wrong. It's not that the piece of bread is what allows you to carry the urn off. No, the piece of bread doesn't have that kind of ramification. Rather, as we say here, Ella begin Rabbi Yirmiyah lo yisake. The reason why they took off the urn is because urns are hot, and if urns are hot, they can burn. Right? So therefore they took it off, not because they didn't. It's possible that the piece of bread, I'm revising what I said again, it's possible the piece of bread doesn't help. The only reason why they use the piece of bread eighths over here is because of the danger involved. And once you have to take it off anyway, you might as well do it in the most possible mutter way. Shavin shalo yimlechenu. Everybody agrees you can't salt the hides because again that works then. Tani avo molech ola basar. But you know what you can do? You can pull a ruse, lose a loophole. You can salt meat on top of the hide, which is mutter on yours. I mean, may the hide gets salted, right? Litzli, chavrai v'shem. I'm sorry. Molech ola basar litzli is salt on a meat for which is going to roast, which doesn't require as high salt content as any other meat. Chavrai b'shem Rav. Chavrai b'shem Rav said, "Molechu adam." A person can salt davar merubah, a lot of stuff on Shor Yontif. Avish eno yochol lochol. Mimenu, even though even though you can only eat a little bit of it. So there's another loophole one can use. One can salt the whole bunch, even though one only needs the other part, because maybe one will need the other part. Yaakov Hashem Rav said, Molech umarim. You can do salting and use another loophole. Molech umarim. What does it mean? Malachacha, you salt here and salt there, adu malchuli, until you salt the whole thing. What does that mean? That means that and usually when you salt, you only salt what you need. But you could say, oh, I'm salting this. I don't like this, let me salt something else. I don't like that, let me salt something else. That's called harama. It's not that you could have salted what you wanted first. Right, but here you're salting all of them, just by going one by one, and that's permissible to do. So Chachamim set up the rules, what you can't do, but then they gave you all sorts of interesting loopholes, which makes the Beitza a little bit complex. But Yerushalmi says, the law is a lulav, you can't take a cotton, nor lulav, law sevitor, nor sevitor, shusarabim, on yontav, Beisil materin, they hold it's not mutter shlo tzorach, Beisil is materin. Says Mara Gadol or wait a minute. Sounds like Beis Shammai says you're not allowed to take out an adult, right? No, I'm sorry, Beis Hillel, right? Beis Hillel says you're allowed to take out a child, right? What about an adult? Sounds like adult is also, right? So Rabbi Shmuel Brei Rabbi Yosei, Rabun Omar Afilu Gadol mutter, even an adult is mutter, right? Why does it say? Why is our mission talking about a child? Even it's going to tell you the koach Beis Shammai ad heichon hein machmirin. It's in order to tell us how machmir that even by a kid they don't let you get away with it. In other words, I might say by a kid they let you get away with carrying. They don't let you get away with that. Shmuel. Mitan I'm going because I forgot what it meant. I mean, Shmuel would carry stuff, I guess children. He'll carry from neighbor to neighbor in the city, right, even though there's no Eruv. Rabbi Zir, come Rabbi Yossi, Nemar Dahava Istanis. Maybe it's not because you're allowed to carry, or maybe because he was an Istanis. He was very sensitive. What is he sensitive about? What? I think anyway. They carried Shmuel. I was wrong. Shmuel they carried. Not Shmuel carried a kid. Shmuel was carried. Shmuel Mitan, he was carried Me'eres Le'eres. So he can carry even an adult, right? Like we said. Maybe it's because he was not so well, because he was unhealthy. Right? Isnus means sensitive, but here means unhealthy. Amrei Bori Avo, he was healthy. So we see allowed to carry an adult. Bori Hava Minei Minon, he was healthy as me and you. In other words, he didn't walk, we see allowed to carry an adult. Kai Shuav Rabbi Omer, Avonim Sheyu, this is Shagadata. Avonim Sheyoshavnu Aleim B'Narusenu, stones we sat upon in our youth, even though they were very cold. When we were young, they didn't bother us. Also, Imanu Milchama, they made with us a war, but you can say in old age. In other words, now we can't take the cold anymore. Rabbi Yoda Mefaki l'Chavrai, Rabbi Yoda said to the Chaverim, Lo Tasvud L'Chon, do not sit al Mastovtaya Bas Brisa, means the outer chairs, the Sidra and the Barula, in the base Medrash Barula, the Inun Stina, because they're cold, and cold stones are bad for you. Rav Mafkul Talmidei, Rav said to the students, Lo Tasvu, do not sit L'chon al Tavla Brisa, on the old outer tablets, again, same idea, the Sidra, the Asi, the Inun Stina, because they're very cold. Rabbi Abba Havanachas Misrei. Rabbi Abba went down to swim, Bahadin Yumsin, in the baths to Tveria. Ba'ava Mistamech al train Gulchin, and he was leaning on two midgets. He was using them like crutches. He brings down the one of the people on the side brings down that it says Shnei Gusian over here. It means two Goths. 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 You know, it's Gothic. Yeah, but it comes from Germany. They were called the Goths, the Visigoths. Those are the German barbarians. So the two barbarians who were supporting him. Okay, Siren, they kept on slipping out, either the midgets or the barbarians. The Zakfi. So he picked them up. Siren, the Zakfi. Amalisa said, if you're so strong you could pick us up when we slip, why do you need us here to help you out? So he said, Shimarti koichi l'ziknusi, I'm preserving my strength for my old age. In other words, he had a shita that if I expend all my strength now, I won't have any left for my old age. I rely on them because he said, I got to preserve my strength till I'm an old man, so I have strength for my old man. When I'm an old man. Where am I now? Rav Huna lo nachas. I didn't prepare this. That was it. Okay, I think it's a record for doing two blind Yerushalmi. What? I should do it upside down. That's right. I stayed awake and I did it quickly. It's pretty impressed. Okay.